Okay, to start, could you please introduce yourself and tell us where we are?
My name is Sarah Stuckey. We are at Finca Laguna Verde in Monteverde, Costa Rica.
And what was the specific turning point or moment that inspired you to move away from traditional or conventional practices and embrace regenerative agriculture?
The turning point here at this farm is very closely linked to climate change. I have been giving talks on climate change for many years, and managing a dairy farm kind of felt at odds with that. And I felt that we really needed to change our practices to make our dairy farm more in line with our current issues of climate change. And so we decided to really start to take action and to lower our emissions, and with the goal of possibly making our farm carbon neutral.
And what were the 2 to 3 most fundamental regenerative practices that you implemented first when you were changing your
The
practice?
first thing that we did here on the farm was completely eliminate chemical fertilizers. That is an important source of greenhouse gases, and we felt that that was perhaps the easiest thing we could do, substituting that chemical fertilizer for manure and more organic fertilizers and sources of nutrition for our pastures.
And what was the most surprising or significant positive change that you've observed in the land or the soil since making the switch?
Oh, well, there have been all sorts of positive changes that we've observed on their farm. Really, for us, one of the moments that was kind of an aha moment was seeing the dung beetles come back into our soil, which we hadn't seen for many years, seeing the manure starting to incorporate. And also when we achieved carbon neutrality in 2021 and were able to show with numbers that every year this farm sequesters 302 tons more greenhouse gases than the greenhouse gases our cows emit.
That's awesome. And can you explain this drawing behind you and how incorporating animals into the land is important within this model?
It is really important, not only to incorporate animals, but to incorporate diversity in the farms. We need to understand that the creation of soil and the sequestration of carbon in our soils really has to do with the symbiotic relationships between roots and plants and fungus. And really, we have this concept that plants just take nutrients from the soil. And in reality, all of that happens because of symbiotic relationships with fungi. And the fungi play a crucial role in sequestering carbon back in the soil through the rhizophagy cycle, where plants will ask microbes to look for certain nutrients in the soil, for example, phosphorus or zinc or magnesium. And so the plants will actually inject root exudates back into the soil, chemical signals signaling to the microbes to look for these nutrients. And along with those liquid root exudates, they're also injecting carbon back into the soil. This is how we build carbon in the soil. And so it is really crucial to understand that the formation, we can play a powerful role in how much carbon we sequester in the soil and how much soil we can build back on our farms through these symbiotic relationships. And incorporating animals into these relationships is really key, because incorporating animals incorporates other sources of carbon through manure. It incorporates microbes, incorporates bacteria, it incorporates ants and dung beetles and another whole series of actors that help promote the soil health.
Amazing. Your farm, you mentioned, has a carbon negative footprint. And can you explain what it means to be carbon negative and how regenerative practices make that possible?
Well, basically, we are building back our soil at a very rapid rate because we have stopped using the chemicals that destroy the symbiotic relationships with the fungi. And so our plants are now able to really inject carbon back into the soil again, whereas before we were simply using chemical fertilizer to provide nutrients for the plants, and we weren't putting things back into the soil. So allowing our soil to function as it should, as an ecosystem, has been really key in starting to sequester the carbon.
And you are located very close to the cloud forest. And how has this shift to regenerative agriculture impacted your interactions with other wildlife that is from the protected areas of cloud forest?
Well, being located close to the cloud forest provides many benefits in terms of the diversity of the ecosystem. And Monteverde, we've been very lucky that the conservation efforts have really increased the protected area, which has allowed an increase of animals in our whole ecosystem. That being said, we also have to deal with impacts of predators that perhaps we did not used to have. For example, mountain lions, we call them pumas here, that now start to become an issue for farmers in this area thanks to the increase of the protected area.
And when you do face issues with predators like pumas, what are the strategies you use to protect your cows and animals?
Well, in learning to deal with predators like pumas, you just kind of have to learn to live with it. There's not a lot you can do. You actually having electric fences on our fences has helped. Having electric fences is a little bit of a natural deterrent. It doesn't stop these large predators from coming around, but it does provide a little bit of deterrent. And there's practices you can do, for example, always keeping your calves close to the barn or close to the houses where people are is also other forms of natural deterrent that you can implement.
And in the context of your farm, what does human-wildlife coexistence really mean?
Human-wildlife coexistence means that you really have to learn to live within your ecosystem. We have to remember we are part of our ecosystem. It is not us and them. We are all one ecosystem together. And so you really just have to learn to be good neighbors with your neighbors, even if they are the wild neighbors.
And do you believe regenerative agricultural systems like yours can be implemented on a larger scale, even industrial scale?
It is very important to understand that regenerative agriculture practices can be implemented anywhere. It can be implemented in a small scale. Regenerative agriculture can be implemented at industrial scales. The biggest challenge we have found is changing the way we humans think. If you can implement these practices of not disturbing the soil, of keeping the soil covered, keeping living roots in the soil, diversification, keeping grazing animals, as long as in any context, you may have to make adjustments depending on the context where you're at. But the biggest challenge is us being open to change. And as humans, realizing that there's many ways to solve a problem. And if we are open to creative solutions, really the sky is the limit.
And as you've made this switch to regenerative agriculture, how have you found the financial viability of regenerative agriculture? Do you find it similar to how it was, or a big change?
The financial viability of regenerative agriculture is important. We all depend on the soil, and as we build back the soils, that means we increase the capability of food production. What you do have to understand is that you might possibly be producing less of a monoculture, but you're going to be diversifying. And so overall, your productive systems will become more complex, more diversified. Your food is going to become more nutrient dense. And all of that is going to allow you to improve your bottom line and have better margins on your farms.
And what do you see as the most urgent problem facing agriculture today? And why is it important to act now?
The most urgent problems facing agriculture is that we have developed productive systems that are extractive depletive. If we continue our global extractive depletive high chemical dependence, we are losing our topsoil faster than we can build it back. We have to switch to regenerative agriculture systems where we focus on rebuilding our soil health, of growing back the soil, because soil is the basis for everything. It will not only increase our capability of producing food, it will increase our capability of carbon sequestration. That will have a positive impact not only on climate change, but also on important things like building back aquifers and the amount of water we can store on the ground, the amount of resilience that we have to extreme weather events. Building back the soil is really one of the key aspects of life. If we have healthy soils, we have a healthy planet, and we ourselves are healthy.
And do you have any final message that you would like to say about anything related to our climate, regenerative agriculture, anything you want to say?
Regenerative agriculture has an amazing potential to transform this earth in a positive manner. And we have the opportunity as producers and as consumers to choose productive systems that increase biodiversity, that increase our health, that increase the nutrients in our food, that have very positive impacts on our climate. And every day we have the opportunity to consume, purchase, and produce regenerative agriculture products. So I invite everyone to really be mindful and aware of our practices, because every day we have the opportunity to make this world a better place.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure.